back to another episode of the Lonely Liberal Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Zankin, and I am so happy to have you on this lovely Sunday. Man, we've got a good show for you today. And longtime listeners may have noticed, man, for a news roundup, this is a pretty quick show. Typically, these shows go an hour and a half. And you're right, it will be a lot quicker because I am alone. You're stuck with just me today. Rick had a pretty unbelievably weird personal thing happen, which I will be begging him to share with us next week so you can hear. So stay tuned for that. But yes, alas, you are stuck with just me today. We're going to be banging through the news. I mean, my God, was there a ton of news to talk about, but we will just be cranking through it because I know you guys like to hear what's going on, right? I constantly telling you guys, oh, don't worry about it. I got you. Well, I got you. We're going to go through the news. But before we do, two random little rants / stories for you because they're on the top of my head. So I am in San Francisco for work. So I flew in this morning and I am very, very tired. But two things that happened that made me think of something. One is a guy got on the plane who wasn't supposed to be on the plane. So this is what happened. I'm sitting there in the row, just in the plane waiting to take off. You know how they're boarding, people are getting on the plane, and the dude in front of me, so he's in the row in front of me, and all of a sudden you just hear him go, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be on this plane, I'm supposed to be going to Miami and we're going to San Francisco. And we're all like, huh, what? And we're like, yeah, we're going to San Francisco. And he's like, what? And he's acting all frazzled. It's almost like a Tim Robinson sketch. Like he's acting like, what do you mean? Like he's acting crazy. And anyways, he gets up and he's a huge human being. So he's like trying to parse, get through the aisle and they can't get through. And it's like clogging the artery. And I don't know if he got off or not, but he definitely didn't go back to where he was sitting before. So I think he may have gotten off. And if he did, how the hell did that happen in 2026? I mean, first of all, he was huge. He's not sneaking by anyone. But also, my God, like, isn't there buzzers having a ticket? Isn't that, I don't know, not a great thing to feel at like 6 a.m. when you're on the plane. And then the other thing, and this is just me being irritating, but just something I heard on the plane ride twice, and it was driving me nuts. And I'm curious if anyone agrees with me. I can't stand when people refer to their baby's age in months after 12 months. So up till a year, I'll give it to you. But if you start saying, oh, I have a 14-month-old, I see almost sit around 14-month-old at home, a 21-month-old baby, they love to say it like this. Maybe some of you say it like that. It's just like we don't need that precision. Year and a half. Oh, he's a year old. I don't need 16 months. I mean, maybe there's some secret parenting thing, babies at the 15-month mark, they, get broad-shouldered. I don't know. It just drives me nuts. So let me know. Does that bother you? But no, we'll get to the news, but I figured I'd let you guys in on what I'm thinking about before we talk about Iran. Without further ado, let's get to it. All right, so a pretty big week of news, and a lot of it, like I said just a second ago, has to do with Iran because, oh boy, it feels like it was a year ago, but it was actually just last Sunday when Trump, on Easter Sunday, posted a threat to basically end Iran's civilization and bombing their power plants and bridges if by Tuesday, if Iran didn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, as it was covered by me on my Wednesday show, but as I'm sure if any of you have seen this on the news, those are all war crimes. You can't hit civilian infrastructure on purpose, at least. But, yeah, that was crazy. But thankfully, Tuesday came and went, and no power plants were bombed. We made it out of Trump going full nut job, even though threatening it is still enough, I think, to warrant a nut job. I mean, this week we saw for the first time in a while, I think ever in my life, people literally very seriously suggest the 25th Amendment. So for those who don't know, the 25th Amendment has a clause, Article 4, that says the president can be removed from office if deemed to be mentally unfit to serve. Now, it is important to know that this needs to be enacted by the cabinet. So like the secretary of this, secretary of that. So as soon as I said that, I'm sure many of you thought to yourself, well, that ain't happening. And you are right. That will not happen, at least not yet. So yeah, that happened, and we got to live on. And the reason why is because the United States and Iran agreed to a ceasefire plan. It was a 10-point plan that I went into great detail on Wednesday. But for those who didn't listen, the rough of it is basically the U.S. agreed to every one of Iran's demands, basically said, we'll pay you retributions for the damages we caused by like attacks in the Strait. We'll allow you to continue with the enriched uranium for now. And all we ask in return is to stop attacking. So that was basically it. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it for brevity, but effectively it is certainly worse than the offer that they were negotiating before this war even started. Of course, like many things in this country, in this world, this ceasefire did not last long. At least it was worried to not have lasted long, because literally 6 hours after the ceasefire was signed, Israel started bombing Lebanon again, which was very clearly defined in the ceasefire to, be a part of it. So that broke it. Thankfully, that didn't escalate the U.S., but yeah, Israel is still invading/bombing Lebanon as we speak. But because there was a lot of blowback on this thing, on this ceasefire, there was a lot of blowback on just everything in general. Trump sent Vance to Islamabad, in Pakistan. For those who don't know, Pakistan is the one negotiating the peace deals or peace talks with the U.S. and Iran, which I said this on last week's show, but what a state of affairs where Pakistan is the peace mediator between the U.S. and Iran. It's not that Pakistan can't do it. It's just, how the mighty have fallen, the United States, depending on Pakistan for diplomacy. And yeah, Vance went to negotiate. They had a really long negotiating session. I think it was like long hours, tens of hours. And yeah, it didn't work. It just, no deal, no dice. And basically it's because the U.S. says, get rid of all your nuclear abilities. Iran says no. And yeah, that's it. It ended. Didn't work out. And like I said earlier, Israel launched 100 airstrikes in 10 minutes to break the ceasefire. They call it Black Wednesday. 250 people were killed. Lebanon's death toll from these strikes alone over the last few weeks has already topped 300. And Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, said they're going to keep going. So that's great. This has gotten big pushback from basically everyone in the Western world / human world. I don't know why I clarified Western world, including from the Pope. Pope Leo denounced this as a quote-unquote delusion of omnipotence fueling the U.S.-Israeli war, and he demanded political leaders stop. So that's nice. And at home, this has actually caused a little bit of a fracture in the GOP, specifically from the pundits. So the Tucker Carlsons of the world, Alex Joneses of the world, Candace Owens of the world, former politicians, now Marjorie Taylor Greene, she didn't like it. So a little bit of MAGA split here. Obviously Trump really ran on no more foreign wars, and this Iran war couldn't be going worse, frankly. So it's not surprising that it is kind of backfiring and splitting MAGA a bit, but overall they seem pretty strong. Now, there has been a lot of drama internally, according to NPR, that Trump is really seriously considering using ground troops, and a lot of military members don't want that. So that's a thing. Weirdly enough, on the White House staff this week were reported to not place bets on prediction markets tied to the war, which means that somebody was placing bets on the war, and that's bad and very weird. So a lot of drama in the White House. And then also, and this is for a larger topic, but Trump keeps talking about how he may pull out of NATO. So for those who don't know, NATO is the basically pacts that the U.S. has with Europe and Canada and Mexico. And basically it came out of the Cold War, right, to consolidate against the USSR. So they had a peace treaty. If you attack us, you attack all of us, basically. Obviously, the NATO allies came with the U.S. in the Iraq and Afghanistan war. They didn't want to come to Trump's defense here because the U.S. actually initiated the conflict, right? And now Trump says he wants to pull it out. Of course, no one was asking for this war, right? And it is unbelievably reckless to threaten the alliance that's basically kept Europe stable for the last 75 years. It also really doesn't help his case, and we're going to talk about Vance and Hungary next, but man, the Trump is a Putin pawn is really heating up. I mean, what has he really accomplished in the last few months? Well, he gave Iran an excuse to keep their nuclear program and trying to make NATO unpopular, which is the number one defense system against Russia. And a big reason why, the Russia-Ukraine war hasn't spiraled out further than it currently has, which is already terrible. So, yeah, it's not helping him beat those allegations. So I'd keep an eye on that one. But like I just said, so before he was negotiating a failed deal in Pakistan, our lovely vice president was stump speeching for Viktor Orbán in Hungary. So for those who don't know, Viktor Orbán has been Hungary's prime minister for the last 16 years. He is greatly responsible for transforming a pretty Western democracy country into an illiberal one. What does that mean? It means basically gutting the judicial system, cracking down on the press, stoking fears of immigrants and minorities. I wonder who does that. Maybe a model for other populist governments that we may be experiencing here in the U.S. So, surprise, surprise, he's big friends with Trump, and Trump loves him, right? Both Trump and Putin love him, and he's up for election, right? So, of course, J.D. Vance is doing stump speeches for him, which, by the way, I mean, can we talk about how unbelievably horrible that is? During a week where the president of the United States threatened war crimes against a nation and was as unhinged as ever, and frankly, the country's at war regardless of Trump's behavior. Where is J.D. Vance? Where is his America First ideology? Oh, that's right, stump speeching for Viktor Orbán in Hungary. A Putin-backed, nut, basically. It's just ridiculous. So, fortunately, they didn't work. J.D. Vance's charisma is so low that it actually, in a country where the elections were effectively rigged, they've basically lost. I mean, Orbán conceded defeat today, Sunday, and he lost. So, Europe is stoked. Everyone's really happy. I mean, Hungary has chosen Europe, and this is a big humiliation for this weird MAGA Putin axis that we're starting to see. And a good sign, once again, that people can win even when systems are rigged against them. That was bizarre, but nothing was more bizarre than Melania this week and her random press conference about Epstein. So for those who don't know, and I might put a clip of it in here, but it's 3-4 minutes, so it's a little on the long side. I highly, highly recommend Googling it. You can find it on YouTube, find it anywhere, where Melania Trump issued a really rare public statement saying she was not friends with Epstein and that he did not introduce her to Donald Trump. And what's weird is not only did nobody ask, but coming into context with this, it's very peculiar. I'm definitely going to go play it. You'll hear it right after this. And just thinking about how little we hear from Melania, how out of the blue this was, how random this was, the tone of her voice. I don't know. I don't like to stoke conspiracies too much, but hard to not hear this and think that she doesn't know something. And so why don't we turn to Melania now?
Good afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein's abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins, UK. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you.
All right, so I ended up playing the whole thing, but I mean, it's weird, right? I mean, you're hearing her talk, and first of all, it's just interesting to hear her speak because, like I said, we don't really hear her speak more than just polite words. And she just says so many things in here that are so odd. I mean, obviously, of course, we can understand, you know, her wanting to clear her name and, you know, if all these false accusations according to her and all that stuff. Like, that's very understandable. But what's weird is why now? I mean, why in the middle of a war with Iran and years after? And also, there are some comments in here like that kind of come off to me as slight digs, right? Like, my name doesn't show up in the testimonies and in the victim witnesses and in the files, and it's like your husband's do, you know? Like, also, she said her email response to Ghislaine was like a tribal nod. No, it's just a funny phrase. Anyways, think of that what you will, but I wanted to show you because it was so weird. Also, lastly on Epstein, Bill Gates is now scheduled to testify before Congress on Epstein. Make of that what you will. So, drama in the Democrats' side of things. Representative Eric Swalwell faces multiple sexual misconduct allegations. He's a rep from California. He's a Democratic rep. Former staffer said he assaulted her, right? He's denied the claims and threatened legal action, but basically every endorsement has been withdrawn, ranging from Pelosi, Jeffrey, Schiff. They all said, get out of here. And same with the labor unions. He should probably get out of there. But it's interesting because there's been a bipartisan push here. We had, remember, Texas Republican Tony Gonzalez, who was facing a similar thing. Remember that the woman he was having an affair with committed suicide by lighting herself on fire. And then you also have now this. It's just like, it's awful. You know, our Congress is in a very, very sad state of affairs. And so far, Swalwell has refused to leave the race because he says they're false. So we'll see. This is all alleged. But it does lead very nicely to a question I got from Nick from Massachusetts. And it's not me asking myself, a friend of mine, Nick. It was only going to happen eventually. He asked me a question saying, basically, how are the Democrats looking for the midterms? And it's a very good question and one that probably could require a full podcast to talk about. But the kind of high-level summary of it all is pretty good if the elections are fair. I mean, they've done nothing to really earn a lot of support outside of not being Trump, which has been a failing strategy effectively. But things are so bad and in every front that I think that it's highly likely that at least at the House they can win, and even honestly potentially the Senate. A lot of people would say that that's, you know, kind of pie in the sky thinking, but with just how bad the country is doing and especially how unpopular this war in Iran is, you never know just by being the other guy. And I mean, there's a lot of legitimate criticisms that, of course, we talk about all the time on the show about the Democrats, but it really is this kind of all hands on deck moment. It doesn't matter. We have to get these guys out. Our country is falling apart. But, I mean, a referendum on the Democratic Party does need to happen and is happening slightly, but it needs to happen further. And, you know, it does annoy me a little bit that likely Chuck Schumer's do-nothing approach will technically yield positive results, but effectively that matters more than this long-term strategy, given the graveness of the situation, I'd say right now. I know that's not a sexy answer, but that's what I think. We'll go into further detail. I actually want to do a show with Rick where we go through all the different primaries and different people running and have our favorites and stuff like that. Let me know if you think that'd be interesting. Also, well, side note, but tangent, we have a new email for questions. It's media@thelonelyliberal.com. That's the new email. We have a real big boy email now. We're becoming an adult company. Well, we're a teen. We're an awkward teen. We still need help. But the email is media@thelonelyliberal.com. Media@thelonelyliberal.com. I feel like one of those ads. Call now. No, but yeah, email us in. Let me know what you think about all this, of course. But yeah, new email address alert. Get ready. I am exhausted. I am sorry if I'm rambling. Some last things to keep in your brain. This week, Trump has announced another vanity project. This one is a giant arch. It would be 250 feet arch to be built at the Arlington Memorial Bridge near the National Cemetery. When he was asked this week for who it was for, Trump said, me. Luckily, Vietnam War veterans have already filed a lawsuit to block it. My God, does his vanity know no ends. Also this week, ICE agents arrested a soldier's spouse on an Army base. They entered the Louisiana Army base to arrest a newly wedded spouse of a sergeant preparing for deployment. No one's safe. Another piece of pretty bad news, but inflation was very high in March, almost certainly due to the Iran war and tariffs, but specifically both, really, frankly. This will definitely have implications for mortgage rates and borrowers and soon to come. Some good news, though. The Artemis 2 splashed down. They went to the moon, and now they're back. They're the first humans to lay eyes on several craters on the far side of the moon. Congrats to them. And a great reminder that America can do extraordinary things when it's not busy bombing people. And that's our show, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry if I was a little rambly and a little incoherent today. I am running on fumes, but the show must go on, as they say. Can't leave you guys hanging. You gotta know what the hell's going on out there, and I got you. Don't worry. Not all heroes wear capes, as I like to say, but we'll be back on Wednesday with our normal programming. And until then, take it easy. Rick will be back. Like I said, he has a very intense moment happen to him, and I'm really hoping he'll share it on the show, but he may not. So peer pressure helps. Now the new email, media@thelonelyliberal.com. Jesus Christ, media@thelonelyliberal.com. Bam, that's the new email. I'll talk to you later. I gotta take a nap. Bye.